Hello and welcome. It is currently May 7th, 2013, and this is day 9 number 585, where we learn to be a better gamer, and we're actually going to do it today. Yeah. Oh, very exciting news. We're just going to adjust the camera a little bit that way, a little bit this way. We're going to put me down a little bit. Let's talk about what we're going to do today in today's daily. We are going to do an amazingly kick-ass coverage of Naniwa, who did a number of really interesting two-base aggression plays versus Zerg. We will be looking at three things in today's daily. One, we're going to start off considering timings and looking at how we can research our own timings to help our play. This we'll do this really quickly, and this will allow us to step into two. Looking at the opening that Naniwa is doing with a really simple two-base all-in play. The infamous Zealot Immortal all-in. We saw him win pretty much against any notable Zerg that you saw DreamHack. Leonok, Jaedong, Yu-Gi-Oh, Hyun, beat all of them. We'll study that play, and we'll also see in particular how our timing research helped us do that. I'm trying to like dodge around my arms, I don't know how to do it. And last, the third thing we're going to do is look at an alternative opening from Naniwa. Or I don't want to say an alternative opening, I'll say an alternative transition. The reason I want to look at this alternative transition is because the strength of the opening we're going to see from Naniwa relies upon the fact that there are a number of different transitions that he can do very swiftly. So if a Zerg tries to build too many drones, he might be really good against one transition and completely dead against another. And we Protosses are going to exploit that to our best advantage. I'm going to be playing Portal on Friday. Go to day9.tv to check out more information. I'm just going to hop straight into the daily. I don't think there's any more announcements that are of note. This is something I want to hop into right away. Okay. Allow me to pose a very simple question. I am going to do a one-gate expand opening as Protoss. I'm going to go Gateway, Cybernetics Core, expand, and I'm going to do this with no units. Am I safe or not versus Zerg? Am I safe or not versus Zerg? Really simple question. You can't answer it unless you know timings. It's very, very easy to say something like, dude, you'll lose to Zergling rushes. But that's not actually a statement. I lost to Zergling rushes. That's not a statement. You say, I lost to a 6 pool and he ran straight to my base. I lost to a 10 pool with speed. I lost to a 14 pool with no speed. These are all different. So the timings are the things that we really need to look at. It's very easy to say, well, I don't know timings. I haven't figured it out. Very quickly, I see everyone in chat typing no. The tossed salad is just, no, Sean, no, that's not safe. With a one gate, crap, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Yes, with a one gate expand, with no units, you just start off by saying, what are the possible threats? These early pool builds. And then we can step in and research when they happen. So here, I just hopped into single player, and I'm going to 6 pool. I accidentally built a drone, but that's fine. I just cancel it. Yeah, I'm awesome. And this is really easy to do. I listened to it while jamming out to this great electronica album with the sound on. I was bored. Oops. I was bored, so I made my Overlord Patrol. I built 6 Zerglings, and then I did 2 things. I sent some of the Zerglings straight away to the enemy base. Because I'm lazy, I said, alright, well I'm going to have these Zerglings go up and here before heading down to this bottom side. So these are the Zerglings that will show me how quickly 6 pools can get to my base on small maps. These Lings will show me about how quickly Lings can get to my base on big maps. So we get the very useful data. Come on, Lings. And 6 pools should be hitting my base at about 3 minutes. If it's a big map, it might take as long as 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Alright, cool. Alright, we have some data. We did some research. We have a data point. Somewhere between 3 and 3:30 is when those Lings will be arriving for a 6 pool. What about something a little bit more standard? What about something like a 14 pool? let's just figure out our timings. I created another game. I literally did these like right before the daily because I was thinking I don't really need to just tell you the timings. I can show you how you can find your own timings. Now, if it's more complicated timings, like, you know, a 2-base Immortal Sentry all-in or something, and you think, well, geez, I play Zerg, I don't know if I can execute that, you can always watch a replay. But for really simple cases like this, I want to emphasize that you can pretty much do all your own timing research. So I'm watching a replay of myself, I could be watching a replay of someone else, but my question still remains. If I go for a 1-gate expand, I'm worried about dying to early Zerglings, especially if I'm making no units. So I now know that 3 minutes to 3:30 is when a 6 pool would hit my base. And now I ask myself the question, what about for 14 pool? If I send all those lings out, they get to the base at 4:20. Wow, that's a useful timing to know. And you know what? Because I love Notepad, I love me some Notepad. Let's go ahead and get Notepad out. Yes. PvZ timings. Pow! Shakazuha. 6 pool gets to our base. At what time? At around 3 minutes to 3:30. And let's use the tab. Yeah. And then at around 4:20, at the earliest, is 14 pool. And I'll just go ahead and add on 4:45. So these are some timing ranges. How did I get these? I just tested it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to step into an... Uh-oh. Sound still good? My face locked up and I'm freaking out. I'm having an emotional meltdown. If the sound is still there, I will continue. If the sound is gone, the daily is canceled forever. Oh, the sound's on. Okay, it's a good thing we didn't lose sound. Jesus, I almost lost my mind. Okay, so I have the group stage games from DreamHack here. We're going to look at a game between Naniwa and Hyun on Neo Planet S. Now, what I'm going to say right off the bat is the strategy, the overall thing we're going for, and then we're going to forget about the overall strategy and focus just on the very opening portion using these lovely timings that we researched ourselves that took a grand total of like 5 minutes of time. And what we're going to see is those 5 minutes of time provide us amazing insight into Naniwa's build order and amazing insight into how we can do our openings to help us stay alive. So let's hop into it. We got Alliance Naniwa up at this top side versus Quantic Gaming's Hyun. I'm going to note Naniwa does not scout. He is not going to do any scouting this game. So I'm sure many people have seen this pylon go down before. This is not going to require a lot of analysis. I'm not going to be worried too much about any of this craziness like, you know, this is how you do worker pairing. Like, see these little workers and a lovely little pair. I will note, actually, I'm going to back this replay up because Blizzard fixed the bug that caused sound issues. I will note Naniwa is doing little teensy adjustment. Very often, on 15 supply, we will build the assimilator. Here, he is building it as quickly as he can at 14 supply. Naniwa's strategy is going to be to go 1 gas on 2 bases and to go mass zealot immortal. That's the strategy that we're going to do. And we're going to even incorporate a little bit of harassment. But watch this. Naniwa goes for pylon. This is a very sophisticated, very technical timing that we're going to see. So he builds his cybernetics core at 8 supply. Here's where we need to get very smart about timings. Naniwa is not scouting. But what he is doing is keeping track of his mental timings, such as these ones, that a 6 pool should really be arriving at my base right now. And if he sees nothing, if he sees no Zerglings, he is going to respond to having seen nothing. So, let's see that happen in action. It's what I call a non-trigger. So, chrono boosting of the probes begins producing a zealot. Here's our zealot coming out. Now, I will describe a quandary right now as I pause at 3:20. there's two things that we need to worry about. One is the right now. If he is going for some sort of crazy 6 pool or even a 10 pool, we need this Zealot. We need the Zealot to stay alive. But what if he isn't? What if he went for hatch first? This Zealot is literally worthless in that spot. Ugh. It's very easy to say, well, I should scout. And if I see the 6 pool, I build the Zealot. And if I don't see the 6 pool, I don't build the Zealot. You can be more sophisticated than that. You can be as sophisticated as Naniwa, who's saying things like, oh, you know what? What are we at 3:30 and I haven't seen anything? Cool. I will then cancel the Zealot. By virtue of having seen no units attack me, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel this Zealot. Alright, cool. So we are comfortable in the circumstance of a 6 pool. We would have let that Zealot finish, and we would have had the benefit of being able to start a Mothership Core right away versus it. Okay, now, what we are a little bit worried about is, geez, around 420 to 445, a 14 pool gets to our base. We better have some defense ready for that. So he starts his Warp Gate research right there. And notice his Mothership Core starts chrono boosted at 4 minutes, which means that at 4 minutes and 20 seconds, almost exactly. Remember those 14 pool Zerglings? They could have only just arrived at our base. Ba-da! Isn't that cool? Right? Like, it's very easy, because I like to watch a lot of, games with friends. Like, I'll hop on Skype. JP McDaniel's probably the #1 god tier person to watch anything with. Seriously, actually, JP and I, he once came over and stayed at my house for a few days. Let me tell you something. We watched the shit out of some of those DC Justice League animated movies. All-time greatest thing ever, right? Other than JP, some of my lesser friends, some who don't measure up, we're on a crazy tangent right now. I like to watch games with friends a lot of the time, and very often when I'm watching with a friend, I'll just, be watching with 3 or 4 people, and I'll hear one of them say something like, "Oh, cool, yeah, he's getting that Mothership Core up, for the photon overcharge and all that sort of stuff." And it's like a really simplified statement, right? Like, oh, well, Mothership Cores are good in general, and he gets it early for the charge up for the photon overcharge. Yeah, I mean, that's all true, but it's the digging really deep that can be encouraged by seeing things like Naniwa starting the Zealot and then canceling the Zealot. Why is he doing that? Getting the Mothership Core right now. Why did he try to get the Mothership Core right then? Why not wait for it? If we're canceling the Zealot, why are we rushing for the Mothership Core? It all comes down to these timings that are oh so essential. So, and again, if for some reason Lings pop into our base, we actually have enough money for a Stalker, which is the correct counter for that in that circumstance. Zealots are not going to be as effective against slow Lings as a Stalker combined with a Mothership Core will be. So, okay. That was an incredibly simple example of doing research and then constructing a build that accounts for the timings. And most importantly, we've made the adjustment to cancel this Zealot if we see nothing. Really cool. I'm going to start speeding up the daily now because I think that concept is really clearly highlighted here. I'm going to start saying timings, and you should just take my word for them, as is the case with the other 584 dailies we've done. So, with the next set 100 gas, if Naniwa feels safe, he goes for a Robo Facility. If he feels unsafe, he goes for a Sentry. The simplified statement for this Robo Facility is get it AFAP, as fast as possible. Depending upon the map, you'll have to do your positioning differently, but Forge, Gateway, Wall Off, and the Probe to complete everything. The Zealot is really the last piece to the puzzle that Naniwa's getting. He's basically going Expand, Warp Gate, Mothership Core, and then these 2 buildings. Now there's a number of Zergling timings that can strike at close to 6 minutes. which you'll see coming up right around now. 6 minutes, mass Zergling timings, no problem. Look at our mothership core energy. It will be at 100, so we can photon overcharge. We'll have our zealot done by 6 minutes, so we're fine. And we'll have our warp gate research almost done for a sentry. But I actually don't think you really need the sentry. The zealot and the photon overcharge is going to be more than enough to let you get the rest of your defenses up. So there's Naniwa, walling himself off. Some speed Zergling timings can be a little bit of a pain, but not really. So here is phase 1 of the aggression. We're noticing we're still not getting any extra geysers. And you, I think, can very understandably say, how many probes do we build? Easy. 16 mining minerals here, and 16 mining minerals there, and then you stop. So generally it's right around, 36, 35, 37, something in that range. So he's at 32, so he's almost there. +1 with the next set of gas. Only gas we're actually spending is on the Immortals. Didn't that work out nicely? We have our 2 warp gates up. The warp gates are going to serve 2 functions. One is just letting us wall in, and the other one is some aggression that we can do. Mothership core, getting a lot of value. And then at 7 minutes, Naniwa just builds the shit out of a bunch of gateways. So here's the simple, very simple push. Naniwa moved in, took a lot of damage, and will be just retreating right back again. So I'm going to step to the Naniwa cam, and I want to note again some timings. This is the first scout that Naniwa has actually done this entire game. This is it for scouting. This wonderful warp prisma. Doesn't know if it was a 3-base play. He doesn't know if it was a 2-base play. In short, generally, there's the, I call it late layer tech and early layer tech. Late layer tech is like a spire, an infestation pit, infestors, mutas. I call this late layer tech because once the layer's done, then you can start the building. And then once the building's done, then you can start building the unit. Roach speed or baneling speed would be early layer tech because you can be building all your roaches as you lead up to that point, and then you can, bam, get that roach speed up, and then suddenly you have 20 roaches with speed. So about the earliest that you can really comfortably get roach speed, what would it be? I'm actually going to calculate it because I can't remember. I always end up recalculating this number because I just can't remember. I think it's like 9 minutes because 6 minutes you start the layer, 7:40 it would finish, then about another 100 seconds. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and round to about 9 minutes. 9 to 9:30 is about the time when roach speed would finish for a player who's going 2-base fast roach tech. Okay, so let's set that in the back. Think of all the rest of the possibilities. If he goes 2-base late layer tech, mutas are going to be done at like 10 minutes, maybe 9:30 at the earliest. If he goes for 3-base, then layer tech, he's not going to have any late layer tech up. He's probably going to get roach speed at like 10, 10:30, something like that. A lot of the stuff is just late as hell. Because this attack is going to be happening around 9 minutes. That is the utility of this attack. It strikes very quickly. In Immortal Sentry, all-in will generally arrive at the base at like 10 minutes, 10:15, this sort of thing. However, this is where I want to talk about range of strategies. Naniwa, in this position, come to the 650 mark, journey with me. Here's what Hyun sees. Hyun sees a guy who went 1 gate, expand, and has just set this thing up. Hyun's immediately going to be like, oh shit, man, I gotta get my roach warren up. Oh, how am I going to defend this? Because a warp gate attack could be happening at any second. Literally any second. The warp gate attacks can be occurring right now. I mean, hell, look, he sees the warp gate, so now he's just like, ah! So now he's got to like pull back, he's got to like check for all these places for possible pylons. He sees this warp prism, okay, probably not layer tech. Alright, so he's going to go ahead and get the roach warren up. Naniwa does a fairly cute thing, which is the Overlord Scout steps in, so he photon overcharges it. So here's our 740 layer finishing. So about now is when he can start researching roach speed, and it's like another 100 seconds, which is another minute and 40 seconds. So yeah, it's gonna be close to 10 minutes. So there it is, starting right now. Boom. So basically, go Warp Prism to do some harassment. Chrono Boost 1 Immortal, Chrono Boost a 2nd Immortal. How many Zealots have we made at this point? 1. 1 zealot. We have about 16 here. We have about 16 here. And then we're going to be warping in 7 zealots at a time. Look at how fast this is happening. Wait, where is that guy? There he is. This is going to strike basically at 9. About a full minute earlier than most other all-in-ish type things. Like, an Immortal Sentry all-in would not have left the front yet. And here's Naniwa doing this. No pylon at all, because up to this point we've only built 1 zealot, so we had no way to protect a probe for a pylon. Remember that +1 upgrade that we had started? Well, it's just now finished. So now we're going to murder Lings with these zealots. We're just going to completely slaughter them. Roach speed is not done. It's in fact not even really that close to done. And let the killing begin. 15 zealots, all packed together. I just think it's 14. Okay, so some micro does go on. But this was just 2 warp-in rounds. And Hyun will stay alive, but at the cost of losing, like, pretty much all of his drones. We thank to God for our Mothership Core, because we have slow zealots, so rather than use force fields to trap roaches, we know that his roaches will likely not have speed during this attack. So this moment right here, these roaches don't have speed yet. So that means our zealots actually can engage roaches. Because the roaches can't run, they can't run! And then we kill everything. It's really, really easy to execute. Hard to have figured out. Just huge props to Naniwa. Probably one of the best timing attack users ever. Just really understands timings just brilliantly. The last thing I want to do before break is just note the chrono boosting distribution. It's almost all on the Nexuses. So, yeah, there it is. It's all on the Nexuses and then on the Robo facilities. So we've been chrono boosting pretty much just probes. This warp gate doesn't get chrono boosted. This forge, I don't think gets chrono boosted at all. I think it's just immortal chronoing. See, there's 1 chrono on the immortal. There's yet another chrono on the immortal. Come on, come on. Come on, immortal. No chronos here. A lot of energy saved up. Chrono on the immortal. And then you will pretty easily see that, yeah, I mean, this +1 never need to be chrono boosted. It's going to finish at like 8-10. It's finishing super early. And right when this attack begins, we're going to have almost 7 chrono boosts. Oops, mistimed that. I actually thought he had 2 extra chronos there. So, whatever. Almost 5 chrono boosts. So, that's really good for doing that extra fast Zealot warp-in. And there you go. Really nice build, and we got the chance to admire its opening safety by looking at these timings. So when we come back, we're going to look at a completely different... Oh, crap, I forgot the other important thing. Whoopsie daisies. In this game, Hyun went for kind of a 2-base play. Hyun went for this early expand and went for metabolic boost very swiftly. This is the opening du jour that a lot of players are doing. They're favoring gas, delaying this third, focusing on lineage, which is what we're seeing out of Hyun. And we're doing this sort of delayed thing. And sort of an appropriately early layer. Like, this layer is coming down quite early. It's coming down at like 6:30. When we come back, we're going to say, well, what happens if Naniwa's up against a 3-basing player? Someone who goes expand, expand, and then gets gas. We're going to look at that after the break. The break is about 3 minutes. It's about 3 minutes long. Oh, yes, it is.